How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. Heck yeah. Well, let's jump into it, brother. I can't wait to hear more about your stuff, your things, and what you do. And welcome to the battlefield of the mind, which will be cool because we can also post on your stuff too. What's the name of your other show? Is it still The Odd I See, or is it something else?
Yeah, well, it's like Vagabard Live, and then Odd I See is the first of many shows to come.
How did you get the name The Vagabard? Is this like a D&D reference or something, or what is it?
No, it's just a portmanteau of vagabond and bard.
Yeah.
Two really solid words that I think sum up myself and what I'm aiming for, like what community I'm trying to build here. I think it encapsulates the idea really well.
All right, fill me in. You got me intrigued. I want to hear more. All right, so you're building a community and you do a certain thing. Give me some of your stuff. I want to know who you are and what you're looking to do.
Sure, man. Well, I have a background in mental behavioral health. I have a really strong interest in like nerdy stuff. Admittedly new into like the D&D realm, but I love it, and I'm just kind of an explorer. I was probably an explorer in a different life, and I've kind of learned that one of my primary talents is providing perspective. I learned that in my old I was a peer specialist, a peer coach, depending on where it was, but I was in the mental health field doing peer coaching and as a peer specialist, and I learned that I'm really good at providing perspective. So carrying that over into what I do now, it is a main driving factor of what I do.
All right, so what community are you going to do? Like the perspective community, or are you guys going to be sharing ideas? Like, what's the idea?
Yeah, again, it's still experimental, and I'm exploring. I'm kind of finding myself. I've kind of decided, honestly, I've even said this before, that as far as season 1, season 2 goes, I'm 20 episodes in or so, and I don't know when I'm going to cut it off. But I'm counting my first season as finding myself. So once I get to a point where I feel like I've evolved as kind of, as a channel, as a creator, I'm going to probably cut it off and then kind of, start a new season where it's a little bit more driven. But yeah, it's very experimental, man. The perspective field, if there is one, I guess I would say is a good way, but it's this little middle section of nerdy people who like to ponder philosophy.
All right, play with me, man, because listen, I'll nerd out with you. I know that looks like just because I do the psychology world only, don't think that I can't nerd with the boys. Don't think that I'm listen, where we're going? We're going D&D. We're going Warhammer. We're going Pathfinder. I mean, where are we going, man?
So D&D is kind of where I started, but then as a Game of Thrones, a Song of Ice and Fire nerd, I discovered there's a tabletop game, and that's been my favorite. Are you gonna
end it as terribly as that last season?
No. Actually. I'm actually building a campaign. I'm going to be a GM for the first time ever, which is exciting. And we're building a campaign that starts at Robert's Rebellion, mm-hmm. and is going to go up into the events leading up to the ending of the show, where I've said I want the main canon to be as untouched as possible until we start to get to that end part. Sure. And then we'll start to change things
because
up.
The books and the shows were like, because the books aren't even finished yet, but they had to hurry up and rush the show for Star Wars, which was definitely, let's just say, so worth it. So
totally worth it. I mean, I think
so worth it.
I think their movie is like one of the most anticipated ever, right?
It's probably the biggest blockbuster ever created.
Ever.
Like, one thing that we found across the board, and I've got no arguments and no pushback ever, is that the greatest Star Wars character was Rey. No question. There's not even an argument.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Do you even need to ask the question? You know?
I know I felt silly even like having to say it. Like it's known.
Right, right, right.
What was the thing? Is it the Mary Sue? What is it called? Like that was the complex they had
Oh,
for it, the
I
Mary
know what
Sue
you're
issue.
talking about.
It was from Star
Yeah,
Trek where that thing originally came from, but it was the Mary Sue complex, which is where uh, the lady just knows how to do everything better than everybody else immediately with no explanation needed.
yeah, exactly. I have done a lot of lore exploring since I've watched the sequels, and I've come to understand what was intended behind the plot and intended behind the story. And when I watch it again, I can appreciate it more. But how's the common everyday man supposed to know that? You know what I
No.
mean? Like,
I got a couple of my guys who are real deep into Star Wars, like everything from like understanding Mandalore way before all the wars and all they get hardcore into it. And they talked about even Luke Skywalker becoming a gray Jedi and ultra powerful, like all these awesome things that like, oh my God, this would be so good if they did the story out there. And I understand, roughly the idea here. So I didn't even get into the Ray aspect of it. I just knew like some of like the stories that were told, and they're like, oh my gosh, this guy and this guy, if only they did this.
mm,
And then these movies came out, and Luke Skywalker had like one class that didn't go right, and just turned into like this hermit who was like the biggest like martyr of all
give up.
times for just I don't care. What do I even try? Like you're
God forbid I fail one time,
yeah.
and have to just destroy it all to the ground. Yeah, it's a little bit goofy, man. It's a little bit silly, and it it was yeah. It is what it is at this point.
I can feel your heartbreak from here.
Yeah, it's tragic, but I guess all we can really do is learn from it,
You'd
and
hope, man. You'd hope so. It seems like they're just getting worse.
yeah, no. Well, I mean, I had this talk earlier that I think that the Hollywood strike right now uh is for the better. I think that it's going to usher in uh a much better age. Maybe I'm just a passionate thinker, but that's what I'm saying.
There's got to be some pushback on stuff. Like, so you remember when they were doing the Batman and Robin stuff, and they had the whole one where they just went full star power, no story, and they had like
Mm.
Uma Thurman and Arnold
Yep.
Schwarzenegger, and they had George Clooney was Batman. They just like let's just put a bunch of big names in here.
The nipples.
Yeah, nipples on the suit, and then who cares about the plot? Let's just put people in there, and there a lot of fluorescence, and everyone will like it. And like
Hmm.
very quickly, you started seeing like the actual like demographic going, what the fuck is going on right here? Like,
Yeah, man.
what?
It's hard to not choose nipples over plotline, but that's what they did, and
In other circumstances, absolutely correct. And there's other movies too, like Wild Things or something like that, where you don't really need a plot if you've got nipples. Fair enough. Fair enough. You
right.
can get away with
That's
some
true.
things, but
Some things, yes.
but not Batman. I don't know if that's the way. I'm just trying.
You would think nothing is safe, in this day and age. Nobody is safe.
All
Not
right,
even Batman.
I don't. Yes, he can't even save himself from the nipples. All right, so we've got. I don't even know much about this Hollywood strike. I'm not even plugged into what's going on in Hollywood. Even my girls were saying like Barbie movie and stuff is coming out. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not plugged in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are happening in Hollywood that are also very interesting right now.
Yeah.
And so tell me some of your take on this and kind of catch me up as a guy who's like, I'm just working all day. I'm not even paying attention to that.
Right. I only, I wouldn't say I'm exactly plugged in, but I have heard some about it. Um, yeah, they are feeling mistreated. I know that. And
Which Hollywood stars are we talking? I'm gonna have to look
we're
this
not
up.
talking stars. We're talking writers. We're talking.
Okay.
I mean, I think the actors just now got involved, but only in solidarity with the writers and stuff. And this is to piggyback off of the 2007 strike. This is to piggyback after there was a strike in the 60s. I learned that was very similar to this. So this is not like anything new or unique per se. This has happened before. But what separates it from the rest is that there's always a reason. I mean, obviously, but like there's always like a big reason. And I think in the '60s it was I can't even remember, but now it's AI, right? So AI is playing a big factor, and
Are they trying to write movies with what is it, Chat GPT? They're just writing movies like
right.
they're like vampire versus werewolf. How should it
Yeah.
go, Chat
I mean,
GPT?
it seems like some of the scripts already are being written like that. I would not doubt it if they were like, yeah, man. I mean, it started with Twilight, and ever since, we shoved all the Twilight books into the machine, and it gave us these scripts.
Here's
So
here's the new
that's what we
Underworld
got.
movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, dude. So exactly. So some of these movies already seem like they've been used. So like, if you were to say that, I would believe you. And then the second point is being that, it's probably not the case that, they haven't been using AI. I have to say, what do you have to be worried about? Like if you're honestly worried that AI is going to take your job, you're not good at your job.
Ooh, shots fired. Okay.
At least in this case, I'm speaking on this specific case.
If you're gonna be creative, at least try and be more creative than like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
linear information that the computer's using.
where's the unique stories that have,
Oh man.
been told in the last 20 years,
I'm excited where you're going
30
with
years,
this. I like it. All
you
right,
know?
this is where like, what did they just come out with? Another Indiana Jones? How many Ghostbuster spinoffs? How many? This is what the fifth Insidious. It's like well, let's just keep making more ideas off of the old ideas.
Yep.
How many Ninja Turtle movies are there? Like,
Don't
I
get
love Ninja
listen.
Turtles.
I
I love
love the
them.
Ninja
I love
Turtles.
them. But,
Damn it.
but why do they keep making like all these different ones? And like, come on, guys, like make them at least good. I get salty when
At
they
least make
try.
it. At least make it good. I don't even want to get started. We won't even mention the Snow White movie. That's just
What do they do?
fucking
What do they do with
bullshit.
Snow White? Is it like I saw the Huntsman one?
Six of seven
Oh,
of the dwarves are not.
they're not dwarves anymore. What are they now?
No, just Peter Dinklage, and then there's like six very diverse people.
Why?
So
Why didn't they just have like seven Peter Dinklages? That would have been probably better.
right, like why can't you use AI for that? Come on,
Yeah,
missed opportunity.
or just like pay him six times as much to be six roles.
Right. Yeah, he's been very outspoken about it. I think he like signed up
Wait,
for it, like hell
which
yeah, I'm
which
down.
dwarf
And
was he?
then I don't know yet,
Oh
but he's the
man,
one in the picture. He was the one in the front. So is there a leader amongst them?
I know
I don't
Doc. I
remember.
don't know.
Yeah, probably Doc. Probably Doc.
Let's look at it
Looks like
up.
he's
Who was the leader of the seven dwarves?
Snow White.
Yeah. All right. Was there a
I
leader? Let's see.
It looked like he was missing an arm in the picture. I was like, what
Says let's see.
is going
Doc.
on?
Doc. I think is leaning towards Doc already. Who was the
That
leader?
checks out. That checks out.
Blocking me here.
I mean, when you're in that day and age, if you have a PhD, you're probably a leader.
Yeah. Or at least the guy they'll at least defer to. He's like, my PhD was in ice cream. I don't know.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's just they have valid gripes, this Hollywood strike. Um, and I stand with them. I understand where they're coming from. I joke, I kid, but I stand with them with what they're saying.
I don't know.
Um,
I'm going to go the other way a little bit. I got valid gripes before the strike. Some of these shows I
Fair enough.
watch, which is like good concept, is just by the ending, you're like, were they
Yeah,
just trying to ruin it? Did they even
maybe.
read their own script? It went against their own. Like, don't get me started with Netflix writers. Like,
I know,
I
dude.
very rarely will watch a show and like let it emotionally get to me. It's not gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not gonna usually do that. But I'll tell you, there's a couple shows, especially when they started doing the Marvel stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, actually, honest, real talk, just you and me.
Mhm.
Nobody who's listening to this, nobody will even know we talked about this.
Okay.
The Daredevil one, like the
Oh
second season
shit.
of Daredevil, I actually yelled
Yeah.
at the TV.
Oh
Like,
no, I haven't seen it, man.
bro, I'm gonna spoil it for you right now. I don't care. So like,
I mean, go ahead.
so you got Daredevil and Elektra the whole entire season. They're doing this back and forth love thing, and let's just be real, this dude is a dick the whole time to this girl. She comes back and she's Elektra's an assassin, dude. Like, that was like she was raised an assassin. Like,
right.
That's like her whole backstory. And this
That's
guy met her as they were training, as she's an assassin. So it's not like you're like, wait, what? You're a fucking assassin? I didn't know. You fucking blindsided me. He knew for fucking like 20 years. You know that's what she does.
So what? He got all brand new.
Yeah, and so then he starts getting in with all this stuff. Where like you're bad because you kill. You can't kill and be with me. Like, don't do that. And so the whole season, he's just stringing her along, and she's like, no, I want to be with you. And he's like, not if you're a killer. And so she's like, okay, I'll go against everything that I am so I can be with you. Then there's a scene where this ninja, of course, comes in, shoots this dude in the chest with a poison arrow. This chick, trained assassin, kills the ninja who just shot this guy in the chest with a poison arrow. And he was like sitting there with an arrow out of his chest, dying, going, you look like you liked killing that ninja. Who are you really? Like, we're going to have a breakup talk with an arrow out of your chest right now. She ends up saving this dude's life twice within like 10 seconds here, because she's able to get the antidote and all this stuff, saves the dude. And he comes out and he's like, you killed that ninja. And she's like, he just shot you in the fucking chest with that arrow. Like, he was definitely killing you. Like, you were about to die. And like, I killed the bad guy and I saved you. Like, there's no other way. This is a ninja. He's not, I can't like, debate, like talk him down. Like, what am I supposed to do here? So she ends up like going like that. He breaks up with her essentially for saving his life twice within 2 minutes, breaks up with the chick. So she's like, you know what? I'm Elektra. I'm out of here. I'm bouncing. Well, you know, the blind dude who like trained them both, who's like, well, we can't just let her go. She knows too much. And so they send another assassin to go and kill her. They're like, we're going to kill Elektra. Well, it's Elektra. So she fucking kills that dude and then comes back. Well, all the while, Daredevil and the blind guy, who's like the mentor, are like going to go down into the sewers to fight the League of Shadows, essentially. And so they're down there surrounded by ninjas and ultimately screwed. Like, Elektra shows up and all of the League of Shadows is there, and they're like, actually, Elektra, the reason you never felt like you fit in with these guys who just broke up with you and this guy just tried to send an assassin to kill you, the reason you never fit in with these guys is because you were always our rightful leader, and you are now supposed to be the queen of the League of Shadows. You're supposed to be Ra's al Ghul's daughter. You're supposed to be like you are now the queen of the underworld, and all of us ninjas swear loyalty and fealty to you. We are all at your command. And here we are, Daredevil and Blind Guy, completely surrounded, while this entire army of ninjas is like, you are our queen, and we are here for you, and kneeling and all this shit. And of course, Daredevil's like, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't. Well, motherfucker, didn't you just break up with me for who I am? And then the blind guy's like, don't fall for it. Don't do that. Didn't you just send an assassin literally 20 minutes ago to kill me? And then she's like, you're right. And then she turns on all the ninjas and starts killing ninjas. But now, because they're surrounded, Daredevil also became okay with killing. And now he's killing ninjas and she's killing ninjas, and they're fighting through all the ninjas. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? This chick who said, I never fit in with you guys. You just broke up with me for saving your life, for being who I am. You just tried to kill me just because I'm alive. And all of these guys are like, we swear our lives to you, and you can rule the underworld as queen of the fucking planet. And she's like, no, I'm with my ex-boyfriend who just broke up with me and the guy who tried to kill me.
Hey, man, natural story of toxicity, you know? That's crazy, though. That's insane.
Like, what? Who wrote that? And how did nobody who's reading the script go like this? Go like, what? Why would she do that? Because everything up to this would say she should do absolutely like queen of the underworld thing, X these dudes, and then season 3 is just Elektra. Why don't
nobody said shit? That's
what the fuck just happened?
It's safe to say Daredevil's a little nearsighted.
I'm with you on that one.
I couldn't avoid it. That's nuts, dude. Like, sounds like it was really a show about Elektra.
Should have been. She was way more interesting than the main character, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but that's another thing that ends up happening in a lot of shows and movies nowadays is it ends up being about somebody else entirely.
Nonsense.
But like I don't know, I still I still I'm just the kind of person that gives benefit of the doubt, a lot, and I stand with them because I know why they're doing what they're doing, but I feel like it has a lot to do with the producers on why things are so shitty.
Maybe, yeah.
So that's why, like, for the writers, I'm with them. But I mean, I don't want to watch AI movies either. But I think that when I said a second ago that it's going to be ultimately for the better, what I meant was indirectly, the same way that indirectly these writer strikes have affected our pop culture in indirect ways. 2007 writer strike. What blows up? Reality TV, because they don't need writers, and it exploded. Reality TV already existed, but it exploded in the late 2000s. Jersey Shore, you name it. And they came back around and they started writing. And it wasn't until I was thinking about this earlier, I was like, and in fact, that might be why things are so shitty. Starting with Batman, where things were already starting to get wishy-washy. And then you get to this point, and reality TV becomes a big, pop culture staple. And when writers come back into it and they start coming up with new ideas, they have to match this because people are now, like, reality TV is now a thing that people cannot live without. People as a whole, that's what they want. And I think that's when, would Brooklyn Nine-Nine exist without reality TV? Would The Office have become so popular without reality TV? I don't think so. So it entirely different genre pops up and it affects every other genre. And then writers who go through college, do all the things they got to do, they sit in front of a table around with other writers and they are limited. So when they don't get what they want in these deals, it affects the entire industry. So that's why on one hand, I stand with them. But then on the other hand, I know that reality TV is already a thing. It really can't explode any bigger than it has been. I feel like we're past the golden age of reality TV. It might explode again. The Kardashians might.
Well, where would it go next? What do you think? If they take the writer's strike, you already see where it's going to go next, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling anyway. Like the Kardashians could pop out another baby, and that might suffice. But I think independent media is about to get its due diligence.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's about
to be the YouTube show. It's about to be the guy in his basement. The Wayne's World is about to come back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wayne's World is the way of the future. Like, why can't it be? There's an audience for everyone.
I love it, actually. I think it's a great idea.
I think that if everybody who wanted a voice could have one, and there's an audience for everyone, dude. Like, in a world of 7 billion people, even in a country of 300 million people, there's 1,000 people for everybody that wants a voice. There is. And I think that, like, are you familiar with College Humor at all?
Yeah, I remember seeing it. Yes.
Yeah, so they have evolved over the years. They have a sister company called Dropout. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I mean, you're obviously big into, like, tabletop games, right?
I've played my fair share.
So there's two really popular tabletop shows nowadays. One's Critical Role.
Yeah, I watch Box Machina.
Right.
I watched that one.
One is Critical Role, and the other one is Dimension 20. Are you familiar with Dimension 20?
I haven't heard of that one. No. I know Critical Role, but I haven't heard the other one.
So Dimension 20 is a show with the game master Brendan Lee Mulligan, who is fantastic. Uh, I might be a little bit of a fanboy for him, but I
Let's
mean
do a
it's well
shout out.
deserved.
Let's get a game going with him.
I mean, hey, DMs are open. Um, but like uh Dropout is the company that runs them, right? They have an app. I think they have like a website too, obviously, but I have the app and it's just $6 a month. And they have so much to choose from. Unique, independent. I love it. And there's other stuff. It's not just D&D. Like they have a game show called Game Changer. Every episode is a different game. I think it's a great concept. Obviously all these people are like rooted in improv, and it's very much like an improv comedy kind of company. But like, I mean, it does it for me, and it does it for a lot of people. So point being, that is the future, in my opinion, and that's what's about to explode.
I hope so, because there's a lot of really talented people. I got a buddy. I'm gonna put a shout out for Robbie Wheeler, who's also he's a dungeon master, and he's doing a lot of stuff. And his TikTok is starting to move, and he's starting to get people to watch his stuff. But he's running game and doing stuff on Twitch too, and it's actually really good. And I think that it's one of those things where I'm seeing what you're saying, and a lot of people are about to have their own shows where, like,
Yeah, man.
there's a lot of talented people out there who are just underground. And as you and I have noticed, just having conversations, I'm talking to very brilliant people that people don't know about yet. You know,
Yeah.
I've had some conversations this week with just outstanding people who are way under the radar, who within the next couple of years won't be. And
Right.
it's very, very cool to be in part of this, like, genesis of this change. So, you know what? Strike away, you guys. First off,
Yeah, man.
wrong how they're treating you. But second off, you're about to inspire an opening for a lot of people who want to be
Yes, sir.
distracted, or want to be entertained, who don't want to deal with the reality of their lives and can plug into somebody's Wayne's World to do it. Let's make more Wayne's World. Party time. Excellent.
Excellent. Showing.
Swing.
Hell yeah, man. We didn't show our age at all. And
Whatever, man. Listen, we the past is the way of the future. Apparently, let's do it.
right.
Like,
I think like a good way to kind of, imagine is like the French had a Renaissance, and it had an effect on its revolution, did it not? I don't know. I'm halfway decent at history. I'm pretty sure that they were connected, the Renaissance and the
they keep
revolution.
changing it. It's hard to be good at it.
The so now that we're in a digital medium, and that's where most of our art exists nowadays. I think it's like we're kind of in the middle of a digital art renaissance, which hopefully gets tied into our own revolution, which would be nice. Cough, cough.
I'm looking forward to seeing what evolves. And there's a lot of people right now who are looking for evolution. There's a lot of people no different than any type of technology getting phased out that are going to be, clinging on to the old ways, which there'll always be a place for vintage, but
Right.
it's gonna dwindle. That's what the evolution of things are supposed to be. But I think with all of the advent for technology, it just becomes a little bit more complicated for who controls the content. Who gets to cancel who gets to censor who gets to say what you can and can't do. If, like, I want to post it on YouTube and YouTube's like, you're not allowed to have a show about, and you go, oh, in your audience, even if it's anywhere, like you said, from 1,000 to 100 million, they can just go, nope, we don't like your show, and then you lose your show. So then it turns into like, well, how are all these independent shows supposed to have a chance when people are telling them, again, like unpaid producers, this is what your content is allowed to be or not allowed to be? What are your thoughts?
I think that that is that's interesting. Like the whole cancel culture thing, I think is on its way out the door, honestly. It's held up comedy for too long, and I see our comedians as philosophers. we have a lot more comedians than philosophers. I know that, and they're speaking truth. And and they've been limited by cancel culture. I'm not, you know, I'm not even gonna preface that with an explanation. It is what it is, man. Like, I'm not defending anybody, any wrongdoers. I'm just saying the ones that who are out there speaking truth, like Bill Burr, for example, he's known to be a raunchy comedian, but even he has to tiptoe, and that's crazy to me. On one hand, it does a small service for society, and it puts up some like um some blinders, some what's it called when you go bowling, like the gutters, the bumpers,
Yeah,
right?
the bumper.
Like, but that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of
It's interesting that
patronizing
it's interesting that we would
because
do this because it's almost like cable TV. It's kind of like when Howard Stern came out and he started really pushing the limit on stuff. And like, there's going to be the people that hate it, but it's really interesting to say. It's one thing to say if you don't like it, listen to something else. It's another thing to say I will erase you completely.
right.
That's a different thing. Like to say, like, all right, well, we'll have to put you on cable and people can pay for the service to listen to. That's one thing. But to say, if you ever say anything, we will delete you off of the planet. And it's like, well, that's different. That's not the
Yeah, I
same
think
thing.
that it's an interesting juxtaposition, right? Because like the longest time people were getting away with nonsense like Harvey Weinstein and stuff. So people were, you know, acknowledging that something was going on and just looking the other way because they wanted to keep their jobs. Okay. I mean, that's a different debate on whether or not they were enablers, but like they had a livelihood and it's not like they knew specific details. So what I'm saying is for so long, people got away with shit that they shouldn't have. And now, on the very opposite side of that, people get erased for saying even lukewarm shit. And that's the juxtaposition I'm talking about. We're going to come out of this in the middle somewhere. This renaissance happens, we get this boom, and it's going to even itself out. It's going to balance itself out. I have lived too many ups and downs to not believe in balance. So
Yeah, I like your optimism. I'll give it to you on that one. I'm hopeful it goes this direction. I don't truthfully like totally choose a side, but when it comes to free speech, I listened. I would agree with Joe Rogan on this one, where he says like the answer to bad speech is better speech. Like you don't just disappear somebody, you just have a good conversation and see if it holds up or
agree.
not. Like, and
That's a
so
good
there's
point.
no issue I see with people disagreeing. And even on my show, even with the Battlefield of Mind, I've had all types every single time. Like Dr. Reese Civitani Blake, transgender, awesome conversation. I've had black psychologists, people from John Slocum from Colombia, people from South Africa on my show, Andrew. I've got people from Sweden. That's Victor, who was just on. I got all these people all over the world,
That's
all
cool.
different races, genders, creeds, backgrounds, thoughts. Have good conversation. Be curious, open with each other. This is the first time I get to just nerd out with somebody. I'm happy to go. Let's get into some nerd talk because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
always talking with high intellectuals who are like, I don't really play D&D, but I did write a book. I'm like, well, let's talk about your book.
How
Like,
about the book?
let's go.
Right.
Like, so I'm very open to being able to have open discord, and it is frustrating to watch people feel like they have to self-censor because there are people who honestly can't handle the truth of somebody else's opinion.
You know what irritates me so bad
What's that?
is watching TikTok,
Hmm.
which is supposed to be this beacon, right? Supposed to be this beacon, and I can say fuck,
Hmm.
but I can't type fuck.
Yeah, you better not type it. Don't do that.
What
Oh
the
no.
what the fuck? Like, and it's like little things like that I see along, and it's not just that. There's other little, distinguished little tweaks here and there that I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And it's not just TikTok, it's YouTube.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is bleeding through that is like, because this is so different than it was, say, pre pandemic, even.
Mhm.
you could say what the fuck you wanted to say and not have to worry about it. Like, as long as you weren't using somebody else's music or something else, you didn't have to worry about a copyright strike. But, or I mean, I guess that's copyright, but I mean, like, that would be the only kind of strikes that people were worried about, is what I mean. And like, now they have to worry about these free speech kind of strikes. And it's like, I don't understand where, and I guess it's because Hollywood's losing its grip. So that behavior is starting to bleed into the main. I guess the mainstream's just always going to be like that. I guess I don't know, man. It's very
Well, it does.
interesting.
It does come down to, if you look at like, well, who's the one who makes the decision to call the shots on who can do what, and it comes down to just a small group at the top. If you think about it, who owns Netflix? Who owns YouTube? Who owns Twitter? Who owns, the TikToks? Who owns all the stuff to go like, we're going this direction, guys? Like,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's like it's just a few people who make decisions to say what everyone else is allowed to say.
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting time to be alive for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's going to be
Uh,
tricky when, like, the next Wayne World, let's say it blows up and they get, I don't know, let's just pick a nice number. Let's say 100 million followers, or like, let's give them a big portion. Let's give them 1 billion. Let's give them like they are the greatest show
ever.
ever made, and so they have 1 billion people who watch the show. It's a global explosion, right? And so a seventh of the world can't stop watching. And there's just one person who can just say, I don't like that, cancel it.
I like it. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, yeah, yeah, that is very interesting. Damn, I don't even know what to say to that because you're not wrong.
Like,
You
what
know?
happens if, like, if what your movement is connects and people are like, I need to be a part of something that makes me believe in love again, and fantasy, and dream again, and open up my ideas and goals as possible, and I can play out the fantasy of being a hero in my real time right now, and you give people hope again, and they can now find themselves through, a journey through as a elf or a wizard or whatever, and they're finding like, man, this is my true personality and who I am, and it actually gives me confidence in who I can be. And somebody just goes, I don't like what you're doing, that's fake, and then just destroys all of your culture in one foul swoop. It may take you 10 years, and you've got 200 million people who are just living their dreams through your vision, and somebody can just say, not on my platform, you don't, and smoke it all in one button. Like, this is an
Yeah,
interesting world we're in right now. There's a lot
yeah.
of power there. Well, what happens when and that point, that's 200 million people's livelihoods that change within one person's dictatorship. What are we supposed to be able to do with this?
I mean, I think it's interesting that the word troll was given,
Mm.
uh, because yeah, it's what they're doing and stuff. But like, but mythologically, it's it's very much like a troll. And what I mean is, the older I become, the more I kind of believe in fantasy. Like, I'm very much like, I figured out, at least from my perspective, that it was like when most people are kids, they have this spark, this magical spark. They lose it thanks to puberty, probably, and they have to find it again. And when they find it again, that's when you grow up. In my opinion, growing up is becoming a kid again. And people fear growing up, and that's why they're afraid of it. And like, that's why it disappears. I mean, and at the end of the day, you believe the power was you the whole time, like every other story. But like, you become magical again, and I'm starting to see that these trolls are real. And the more you feed them, the more power they have the power that we give them. And yeah, they were able to snuff out some real assholes. Um, and they were able to show us how to police the internet. But it's been too, wild. It's the Wild West out here. And back in the day of the Wild West, you could be a wanted criminal, a fucking psychopath, and move to a new area and become the sheriff if you had it in you. And all of a sudden somebody comes in and they kill the sheriff and they're like, we're going to hang you for killing the sheriff. They're like, nah, I got this wanted poster. So that's kind of what trolls remind me of. Like, I'm the sheriff and I call the shots. We have to stop giving them the power,
Oh,
you
for
know,
sure.
and
Do you go
and
live very often? Like, do you have an audience that when you go live, like these trolls can jump on your show?
I mean, they could.
Does it happen? Do you have it often?
I don't have much of an audience right now, man, to be honest,
Oh.
but
I got a big
but I
enough audience that we get trolls all the time. Andrea's on Troll Patrol. So when we go live, and we've gone live probably like 600, 700 times throughout, like,
yeah,
going through Just a Mile a Day, through the Warrior's Way. And our TikTok has a pretty decent following. We're not like the most famous people, but we're on 280,000 followers at the moment. There's like close to 60
yeah,
million views. And so we've got enough people who've seen the stuff. So we go live and we'll get a few thousand people on every time we go live. And we go on Troll Patrol, which gives us just really good practice because when we're in person, there will
yeah,
be these people, and I have to be able to have my steel sharpened. I can't go in and start crying
yeah,
because somebody has an opinion. Like, it's okay, you're allowed to. It's just
yeah,
how we get good at handling it. And so you'll have
right,
people come in and do really funny things, but if you start trying to go toe to toe with hatred and judgments and shame and guilt for things that are straw man arguments, you better be ready to tango with somebody who can read good because you're going to get
yeah,
your ass kicked. And so
oh
I
yeah,
laugh at some of the ones that come in that are just people trying to be mean, and,
yeah,
we get really good. I've had a couple of them that I can just remember that I just don't mind tangling with them. So like Andrea, I love my girl. She's beautiful to me. And she's one of the greatest women I've ever known in my life. Like I'm very blessed to have such a good woman. And, somebody came out immediately and they're like, if you're an expert men's coach, why isn't your girl hotter? Like, I don't, you can take shots at me all day, but you're going to try taking shots at my girl? Like, she's a beautiful girl, too. She's not, my girl's not ugly. Like, she gets enough people in her DMs. I'm like, of course they should be
that's rude
trying.
as fuck.
But that's rude as fuck, right? And so I said, it's a good call that you would say that. Actually, babe, this is a reminder of how much I appreciate, I love you, and how beautiful I think you are. And so I get to do a public display of, like, appreciation because you're not going to troll on my girl and I'm going to have a fuck you, man. Like, I'm like, no, good reminder, baby. You're the greatest and I choose you on purpose no matter how many options there are.
Right,
It's one
yeah,
of those moments to be able to have that. Right. One of my favorite ones was, I do psychology. I make psychology books. I make tools. I do pretty amazing things. In the psychology world, I talk to people who are very established who go, you're a fucking monster, dude. Like, this is amazing what you're doing. And in this field, it's funny that one person came in and they said their first sentence was, if you don't read Carl Jung, then you're not a real psychologist. And I was like, that's a really funny judgment to come out with because one of my favorite Carl Jung quotes is that thinking is hard and that's why people judge instead.
that's hilarious. So if
And
they would have even known Carl Jung more than anything,
if they
like they would have, yeah,
saw a fucking meme or listened to Jordan Peterson rant about a book that he read, and then they go like, if you don't do this, then if you're not a Jungian, then you don't get it. I'm like, well, it's funny that you would have this judgment when Carl Jung was pretty anti-judgment. You should maybe think. And I would even expand on
right,
Carl Jung's quote. I would say that in this day and age, it's not just thinking that's hard. That's why people judge. I would say it's thinking and empathy are hard, and that's why people judge.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a dark time, dude, and it's real easy to judge. It's just easy, and uh when somebody's in a dark time and I say something rude as fuck and I get a rise out of you, wow, how quick that power
So
came to
powerful.
me. It came to me so quick and it felt so good.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna do this, and I can, I mean, I can see the appeal. I can see why somebody would want to because I mean, I'm a recovering addict, so I get it.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, that's not that like I never felt like me, and never did I like settle. Like you see the kind of optimism I have, and I maintained it. So just because I was taking the easy path, I was still you know choosing, I don't know, man, just choosing to do the right thing even in the darkest times. Like it's it's an interesting trolls just fascinate me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, this is funny because they'll use the platforms or circumstances to try and make their position. But one of my main creeds for quotes go from Epictetus over 2,000 years ago, where he says, "Circumstances don't make a man; they reveal him to himself."
That's a great one, man.
And so
That's a great one.
And so when you watch what somebody's doing, the ever more popular one is that hurt people. And you're watching, like, if you have a platform that can do harm, and that's the first thing that you want to do with it, it shows who you really are.
Yeah, it does. And unfortunately, like that wasn't that like unfortunately we haven't been able to call trolls out. Unfortunately we've fed them too much.
I call them
so
out. But we highly feed the positive ones and we starve the trolls. So like we have a lot. Like I said, there's millions of views on these videos. And so like we know which ones to feed. I do not address people who come in and selfishly make things about themselves, because they're not trying to do anything other than get attention. Well, that's okay, but I don't have to give that to you because it's a waste of my time. When there's actually people who are like, I'm tired of drowning in these pools of despair while I'm still stuck in hell, I'm like, I'll come and get you. I'll help you get out of here. That's a good use of my time. But to spend time with somebody who's trying to get attention to put more people into hell, this is not a good use of my time.
When I say we, I definitely mean just, obviously as a society, because trolls.
The royal we.
Yeah. Like, because it's just trolls have gotten away with it for so long that it's just people just think that it's a viable choice like that guy. What's coming to mind is that recent story of that dickhead teenager that fucked over that kid. Did you hear about this? He said that he was a content creator like Mr. Beast, and or even may have been like attached to Mr. Beast, even because this kid like had a dream, like he loves Mr. Beast and he's disabled too. And so he told him and his dad that they could go on a shopping spree, everything you can get in the cart for 30 minutes, go. And they just bailed on him and just broke this kid's heart. Why? This kid's fucking disabled, dude. Like, what is your problem? For real. There's really hateful people out there, and they continue to be hateful because we allow them to.
Well, look at the publicity that guy just got for being hateful.
That too.
You're telling me a story of something I never heard of for somebody that you wouldn't have talked about if he wasn't so fucking hateful, if it wasn't so dark.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And so this is where we gravitate towards darkness naturally. Like, this is where the news doesn't tell us all the puppy dog stories that happen. It tells us all the things that could go wrong. It's a fear-mongering system. But we happen to pay attention more. This is why if you look at how females gossip, women they've been known to show up to 3 times more negative emotions than guys. I have 3 girls in my house. They're all teenagers, but I have to I try to remind them because they tell their stories in terms of talking bad about somebody else because that gets attention from the other people. It gets approval. We can all agree that we don't like her shoes, right? And you're like, like, why? Why would you knock somebody else down to make yourself feel better? But there is something to it that negativity gets far more attention than, hey, guys, I got an A on my test. They're like, good for you. Like, you're not going to get the same positivity and then going like, Mrs. So-and-so is the worst fucking teacher. It's like, I know, right? And like, for some reason, negativity is such a natural draw for people, especially when it comes to being able to be accepted. And as social creatures, we want to be approved of, and just bitching and complaining is a common ground.
I think that even I think that capitalism fosters that kind of attitude, and just by nature anyway, not necessarily, I don't want to overgeneralize, but like because what I've noticed, I've had a bad run, and where I work now, what I do now, I'm happy with, but I had a bad run getting up to it, and I can acknowledge my faults, but ultimately, fuck corporate America is what I got to say about that.
I don't know if corporate America completely falls under pure capitalism, because like done the right way,
Yeah,
it's
probably
done
not.
well. Corporate America is monstrous, and this is a totally
Yeah,
different. I would say like
you're right.
the ability to be able to compete by building your dream, even as a mom and pop store, or even what you're doing now. This capitalism works really well for us to give diversification and us
Right.
being able to like go like, hey, I want to have a dream and I want to go for it. Nothing wrong with that. But at some point, when somebody is dictating how people are allowed to live their life because they give them a paycheck, now we're doing a totally different monster thing.
Yeah, that's a good distinction to make. I should rephrase. Corporate America
Fair,
fosters
fair enough.
that kind of attitude, because one thing that if done this way, things would have worked out the polar opposite. But incentive, I was never offered an incentive. Like that was never, except for there was one time where there was a raise in question, but that got taken away from me. If there are incentives, they're empty incentives, empty promises, and false hope. That's it. Other than that, there's no sincere incentive. And I think that if more incentives were offered and followed through, that that could be a good antithesis to that negative draw. Like
Well, this is the
I
hard
think
part
that
about it is like it's the same thing with all these things is we've got this crazy fucking ability that fucks up all these arguments. It's choice. Like you don't have to work at a place that treats you like shit. Get the fuck out of there. Like
and
you can
that's
go
what I
at
did.
any point. And so this is one of those things where the amount of power that people sacrifice to a company that does not show any appreciation, and the larger these companies are, the more global or bigger companies. I have very, very close people in my life who work for corporations, and I'm like, you do know that if we remove this is my job, this is actually an abusive relationship. You know that, right? Like
Right.
this
Yeah.
would be abuse. This is somebody who takes advantage of somebody to the fullest extent above and beyond what was ever agreed upon and gives them just enough that they feel like they're trapped. You know that
Yeah.
sounds like an abusive dynamic. There's some dark triad shit happening here.
Oh, for sure. I felt it every time, and every time I dipped out, and I was every single time gaslit to believe that I was the problem. Like I said, I can acknowledge my faults, and if I ever wanted to take the time to explain it, that would be the first thing I did. I'd be like, here's where I fucked up, but understand that I was gaslit into believing it was 3 times as bad.
What would be a better solution? I don't think it's capitalism because capitalism gives you its own solution. If you don't like it, make your own company and fuck them. Like capitalism gives you the chance to go like, I'll compete. Fuck these guys. I'll do a better one.
Right.
Like you can do that. Yeah. So I don't think it's capitalism as much as like
people
who run businesses in moral fashion. Why are we giving so much opportunity to people who, maybe it's just a basic product. Like it could be, I don't know what service it was. I don't know if it was shoes or lipstick or whatever, but like whatever the product is, people keep buying it to the point where like they can treat people however they want. But for what thing? And this is where, like, do I believe socialism is the answer? I don't. Do I believe capitalism done to the extreme is the answer? Oh, no. Do I think that, like, after listening to both sides of the debate, that there seems to be, like, some kind of middle ground that, like, build your business and start it the right way, but also treat your people as fairly as fucking possible and not just go, like, minimum wage and then slave drive? Like, there seems to be some middle ground we can do instead of having Jeff Bezos be a piscillionaire.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff, and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
Yeah, yeah. Common ground would be the idea, but it's just been inherited differently. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Well, just having
it's,
the answer doesn't mean there's a solution.
I mean, that's very true. You're hitting me with a lot of truth bombs, my man, for real.
That's all I do all day. Nobody's ever listened to me and go like, "Shit, dude, that's for wow." Okay, like that's my
But I
thing.
like that distinction you made because I do often share that story and do often say capitalism, but I need to try to say corporate America more because I believe in capitalism myself. I mean, that's exactly what I did is I stopped working for them and I found my own path,
Mhm.
and right now I'm still working for somebody, but that's only while I build up my own business.
Which is part of like the capitalism thing is you can just build your own business. If you have a
Hmm.
dream, make it real. You can do that.
Yeah.
And if somebody
Yeah.
does
And
something that you don't like, compete. You can do that.
yeah, yeah. We often get set up in dealt hands that make it very, very hard to do that.
I didn't say it was
But I
easy. I just
mean,
said you can do it.
right. No, yeah, absolutely. But what I was saying, just to add to it, was there's help out there. There's people out there, but you will never know if you don't ask. You'll never know if you don't seek. So I 1000% agree on that. That's what I had to do. I got to a point where I tried living by
Policy.
societal standards, by America's standards, whatever you want to call it. But like I tried to live the way I was led through life. Oh, this is the way I'm supposed to live, 9 to 5. Or it was very survival instinct. Take the first job I can get and work it till I can't anymore.
Yeah.
Ride it till the wheels fall off. But I mean, and you said you didn't know what the product was. The jobs I'm speaking of in specific, the product was mental health. So
Oh, even worse. Like something that's designed to actually be like a cure is
yeah,
causing mental health issues.
that industry is
Yeah.
fucked.
Ironic. Yeah, this is good though. You know what? I see that as a positive. Do you know why? I'd rather my competition be total shit.
Fair enough. That's
Because time will
fair enough.
expose. It will. Time will expose. And with people like me who are actually pulling people out of hell and changing their entire lives forever, ripple affecting into generations of curses that are no longer being passed forward, time will expose. They will expose me as legitimate, and they will expose people who are not as not legitimate. Let's continue grinding.
Yeah, man. Now I understand your name, so that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I break curses.
Yeah.
I've broken many generational curses for many families, and I've pulling people out of hells that have been there for 30, 40 years, man.
That's that's wild, dude. I'm really glad I was able to meet you. I'm really glad you invited me, and thank you for your time. I'm not trying to end it. I'm just saying I appreciate it. Uh, I I've met a lot of really, really dope people. This is probably one of the biggest platforms I've appeared on as well. So,
It's an honor, man. Listen,
you know, I
one of the biggest things, if I have to be just open with what I'm doing with this podcast, is I don't really have a direction that I'm trying to aim. I pepper in my things for like, this is the actual work I do. And I have groups and I have programs and I have books and I have done things that are established and working over and over again. And so I have those. If people want to work with me, they do. I have clients who work with me directly. But this podcast has been more of a platform of me trying to showcase other people who have big hearts who want to help. And it's not
that's all.
just in my field, it's all types of fields. And it can
Yeah,
be everything from like, we have one amazing woman who she was born with a cleft palate, and she's building a community for people who were born with a cleft palate to be able to know that you don't have to be called a freak by society. You can be treated as a beautiful human in the spirit that you are. Come to this community and you are one of us and you belong. And we can help raise awareness that this is not you're a monster. This is you're a beautiful person who was born with just something that was different, and you can't control those things, just like anybody who's born with any disability or any type of, something that makes you different from just birth. And it doesn't matter if it's skin color, if it's sexual orientation, if it's, a disability. Like, we're all just humans, and people who are like, I'm sick and tired of people treating us terribly. Let's do something that makes some good in this world. And I'm not trying to get overly biblical, but I am Christian. And if you read Christ, it makes it a lot easier when you go, they challenged him, what's the most important commandment? So he said, let's be real, guys. There's only two of them. Love God with your whole mind, body, heart, and soul. That's number one. Number two, love each other as you love yourself. If you start with that, you're at least way above everyone else. And let's just keep the commandments simple. Start off with, if you wouldn't like it done with you, don't do that shit. And if you can't answer the question honestly, like, would you like to be canceled? And you're like, no, I wouldn't like that. Then don't do that to people.
Right.
Would you like your stuff stolen? No, I don't want my stuff stolen. Then don't steal people's stuff. Would you like somebody to destroy your entire livelihood? No, God, no. Then don't do that to people. Let's start off with the basics.
Yeah, man. I agree. I'm not Christian, but I do recognize I live in a Christian world, and I love hearing about it. I watched a whole video of this dude talking about the Hebrew translations of the commandments, which I found to be very, very interesting.
The translations of humans, like what we do with it is fantastic.
Yeah, I find it very interesting in general. Just the like when you reverse engineer the Bible and you hear some of the translation differences, it's really interesting.
It's tough,
but
it's tough for a lot of people. I've got like 5 different versions here, and even still, like there's huge variations. The principles still end up being the same. And here's my one challenge to anybody who's like, I got to challenge Christianity. Just read like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Just start with Christ himself. The other stories, Old Testament it's really tough, but those stories are just like lessons to be learned, not examples to follow, and it's just, this is stuff that happened that didn't really work that well. But if you just read Jesus and he even says like, hey, listen, a lot of stuff in the Old Testament, we're not doing that anymore. That shit's fucked. We don't do that. But you got to remember, real Jesus wasn't this like super sweet guy who was just super nice to everyone. Like Jesus pissed off like a lot of big names. He pissed like who killed Jesus? When people say like religion is the way, you have to go to church. And if you're not the church, then you're going to hell. It's like, well, what church did Jesus go to?
Right.
Well, he didn't go to church. He went to temple a few times, but he didn't go to church. He prayed in private. He said pray in private. And then you go, well, who killed Jesus? Well, it was the Pharisees. It was the church. They killed Jesus. And you're like, it's interesting that people are saying if you're not church, you're bad. But we're Christians, and Jesus didn't say it's church that's good. He said it's our Father, it's God that's good. And pray in private. And even funnier, I think that the real testament to being a Christian is at least read Christ and read it in a few different variants. It's not a lot. If you just read those 4 books, it's not the longest book. It's really not that long. But read what he really did, and you'd be like, this guy was a fucking gangster. Holy crap.
Yeah. I can't say that I'm like super well versed with the Bible, but I grew up in a Catholic family and stuff. So I mean, like I am still pretty aware of like all the different stories, and I can say
put a challenge out there for you. Catholicism doesn't read the Bible. How often did you take your Bible to church and go through Scripture?
Never. I don't think.
That's not. You have to read the Bible. It's because I believe that there's a blueprint that has to be there. If there's a war between God and the devil, there's rules that don't make any fucking sense to us. Let's just call it what it is. And so I think there has to be a rule book. But does Catholicism say bring the rule book and let's go through it? Nope.
Not that I remember, no.
Nobody brings their Bible to Catholic Church.
I mean, I'm one of the large statistics of Catholics that left the church. I left at a very young age. I was a teenager, and I was like, no, thanks. There's
a good reason for that.
I had a very long spiritual journey, and I've found happiness in just being non-denominational pagan. It makes me happy. Like I still get a lot of Christian values out of it, to be honest. Like, I'm not anti-Christian or anything like that, but it's just welcoming any kind of presence into your life and knowing that you're not the top shit in the universe, and there's just a lot of surrendering, and a lot of relenting and a lot of just being empathetic, and that's what I'm down.
The surrender part, whether it's religious or not, is still spirit side warrior. And I think people get the word surrender mixed up because on the body side, surrender means quit. But on the spirit side, it means give up the stuff that you don't need. I relinquish to you. I give it to a higher power. I give it to energy. I give it to the universe. And the reality is, in my side to it, God made it all. Pick your thing. I don't care. Like, it's not my place. Jesus says in Matthew 7, like, don't judge unless you want to be judged. Well, that's not my job. Like, I don't know the answer, man. I don't know what the tally system is and what's good and what's bad up there. And it's not my job to tell you you're going to heaven or hell, because I don't fucking know. It's not my job. My job is to try to be the best guy I can in Jesus' name or in God's name, you know, which I don't go Trinity on, but some people still do. But pick your poison and do it your way. And if you know, whatever the end result is, because I don't do it for a reward system. In fact, I've disagreed with most of the rewards people have said, like, I don't care if you go Mormon and you get a planet, or if you go into heaven where the streets are paved with gold and you get a bunch of jewels and currency that I don't even know if they use. So I'm like, I don't know what you're doing with that. I don't care. I don't even like gold to begin with. Like, so I don't know. Like, what is is there a currency system up there I need to know about? Should I be saving? Like, what am I doing? What are we talking about? Like, I don't know what this is. And so even still, some of the things that people have translated as a paradise on earth with no sickness, no hunger, no pain, no tears. And I'm like, so like, what are the problems that we solve? Because as humans, we're designed to like do things. And so if I'm all eternity, I'd wake up and go, oh, good morning, Verum. How you doing, brother? And you're like, hey, good morning, Rick. And I'm like, so
life is great.
So what do you got today? Like, fucking nothing,
Bunch of
man. Nothing. Everything's working. Nobody needs to eat. No one's hungry. You don't even need to cook, which you're a great cook, but we don't even need to eat it anyway.
No need for it. Right.
And everything's so good. Nobody's arguing. Nobody's sad. Nobody has anything to talk about forever. It's going to be the longest day ever again, isn't it? It's like forever. It's going to be the longest
forever.
Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds horrible.
Why don't you tell me about some more of the problems you had on Earth so we can...
Well, those were erased. I don't remember.
You don't remember anything?
Yeah, no, that's gone. It's removed because we shouldn't remember the thing that got us here. So who I used to be, I'm not. I don't even...
Damn, I didn't even know that aspect. That's crazy.
Are you sure, man? Can we make a problem so we can... Let's go break something and fix it. What do you think?
I don't know, man. There might be a tally system I don't know about.
We go and break it and it just automatically fixes. We're like, no, like fix it, Felix, when you hit it and it just fixes. And you're like, no.
You're not even, you can't even solve it. Yeah, that's funny. That's a hell in its own right, isn't it?
It is. It's one of those things where there's a Twilight episode that did that, where the guy comes down the elevator insinuating that like he just died. And there's like the guy who greets him like, welcome to the afterlife. And he's like, oh shit, what happens? He's like, whatever you would like. And he's like, really? And this is back in like the 60s. And so the guy's like, oh man, well, I would like a drink. He's like, as much drinks as you like. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I want to gamble. I like to gamble. He's like, of course. He's like, you know what? And I always want to win. He's like, absolutely. You'll always win. And I want ladies all over. He's like, as many as you like. And like, he just keeps getting everything that he wants. And after a while he's gambling and he's just winning. He's like, it's not really fun if you always win. And the chicks there's no struggle or there's no game. There's no talk. They just like, you win. And he's like, all right, this is getting a little lame. And then the drinks, he's like, I can only drink so much. This is not feeling good anymore. And he's like, listen, man, like, it's kind of getting boring here. What kind of heaven is this? And the guy there is like, nobody said this was heaven.
Right. It's all the same, man. Heaven is hell. Hell is heaven.
And so this is the thing where, like, what do I think the answer is? I don't know. And the reality is anybody who wants to have the arguments that they're going to tell you what it's like in the afterlife and what's beyond is us creating our own human fantasies of what we want something to be. I don't know, but I do know that the reality of where my soul and my life exists is I will try to be the best man I can to serve you and serve my people as much as possible. And I will try and do my best. And if there is a resurrection of any type, there are some good people I can't wait to see again if they're there. But even real talk, it brings a tear to my eye to think of my puppies that were killed if I get to see them again. And like, if I got to be the best man and sacrifice going into hell to pull people out over and over again and relinquishing and surrendering the damage that I take on from that to God for the rest of my life, just to have a chance to hold these two little dogs again, that's my life. And if I'm wrong, that's fine.
But that's That's a well worth it reason, to if you're wrong, well, fucking you were gambling for the right reason, in my opinion, like I I don't know either, and I've always been a man that was like to the facts and uh a bit of a skeptic by nature, and
Well,
if I
that's a
can't,
dangerous term right there, to the facts, because then it turns into what is truth. And if you want to go down
yeah.
a rabbit hole, we can go fuck some people's brains up right now.
Well, what I mean is, I try. Yeah, I guess I should say I try to stick to the facts.
But the facts keep changing. That's the thing. It's like,
That's
Newton was
true.
right. Newton was going with the facts until Einstein came along. He's like, well, actually, the facts are the other way around. It's still happening, but it's not the way he said it.
Right. So I said, I like to stick to the facts. I've been a skeptic by nature, and then the third part of that is I'm a very see it to believe it kind of person. So if the facts change,
This is this is tricky
then
because if you're talking spirit talk, you're talking, being ethereal. Can you see a soul? But they exist. Can you see the air? I can't see it, but I can feel it and I'm breathing it. So I know it's
right,
there, but I can't see it. And, to say like, can you feel my energy from here? I can feel it. I can feel us talking with each other. I can feel the vibe
yeah,
that we've got. Can you see it? And so there's things that I can't see that are there. I don't know what it is. I don't
right.
pretend like I can explain it, but I can feel like, man, you got a good spirit. You got a good heart. I can't see your heart, but I can get it through the way that we're communicating. And so
I
can I
suppose.
really
I
be that
mean,
way?
I think I mean see by like, sense in general, like if I can sense it in one way or the other, that makes it real to me. And
Well, doesn't this,
that's
wouldn't that then just leave you like, how open are you to absorb new information then versus I block information because I just don't choose to believe that is true?
I'm still open to new information. I don't necessarily block it out. I just I adapt, and I'm never saying that like what I believe is right or wrong per se. I just stick with what I know is right because in my heart that makes me sleep at night, I guess,
For sure. If you're getting well rested, go for it. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
there's a few
About
philosophies I
faith.
have on this, and the faith aspect of it. I still lean towards a couple philosophies that I stick to, because I write on belief systems. I write on it, not just religious belief, but just what do you believe about yourself? Do you believe you're, doing good? Are you doing your best? Or you believe you're worth it? Where's your worth come from? I get into a lot of belief stuff. Do you believe, like even the Henry Ford basic concept? If you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. But our entire brain system, our entire life is based around the filters that we see the world through. And this is based on our experiences and our training and our teaching. And that's our judgments. And this is our way we protect ourselves when things are out of control. This entire belief system is part of how we just manage, which is funny that we judge other people's journeys when we do the exact same things that they're doing just to get through it. So it's
Right.
ironic that we're in this situation for this. But if you're looking at belief systems over and over again, I still lean towards Marcus Aurelius at the prime of Rome when he was still king of Rome before the Argentine plague. And so before all this shit went fucking crazy, like he was like the last philosopher king and he was back into Stoicism, really hard into Stoicism. And so when he was doing that, he's like, I am technically at this point at the height of Rome. He's the king of the world. Let's just be fair. At that time, Rome was the
At that
greatest
time, yeah.
superpower. So like he's the king of the world. And he was like, listen, because I don't know everything, I reserve the right with new information to change my mind. So please, if you can give me better information, I reserve the right to change my mind. Well, if this is the case, how much information does it take to change a belief system?
Enough.
It, it,
One
it
thing,
could be
really.
one thing. I completely agree
So,
with you, which means everything that I believe right now can be completely changed with the
oh,
application of
absolutely.
one new piece of information.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I can speak on that, in my last job, I group was part of it. It was, I think, the only one that I actually did group. I don't know. Anyway, at the end of group, I would have to go around the room and I'd ask the question, "What did you get out of group today?" And I'd get okay, here's a quote, here's a quote, here's a quote. Okay, I'd write it down next to their name, and then after group, I'd go punch it into the computer, in each one of their profiles, like make a note for them and send it off. And that is all that I would notate for group and send it off to insurance, and there it is. because as a peer supporter, I am blessed with like a lot less boundary. So I'm allowed to keep a lot more between me and the client, So I only ask that one quote. That's it. What'd you get out of group today? Really just to prove I'm doing my job at all. Anyway, so sometimes I'd get a quote from the first 1, 2, 3, 4, and they start leaving the room. And I had to make it a rule, to no, please, you guys, when I get your quote, I need you to stay in, because I know you guys go get your meds afterwards. I get that, but stay in the room until I get everybody, because what if that last person says just the thing you need to hear to change your whole view of your recovery? Maybe there's a person who's just like, I know I'm going to get out here and I'm going to get high right away. I don't care. I'm just here for the whatever. But if you waited till that last person was going to say just the thing you needed to hear that was going to alter that and change it for the better, but you dipped out and went and got your meds. I'm glad you got your meds, man, but you totally missed the very thing, the catalyst that changed your life, So I think I do believe that, at the core, that I stick to the facts I know, because as a see it to believe it kind of person, this is what I know to be the world. But the world can be different tomorrow. I'm going to try I wake up every day to be the best me that I can be, to be a better me than I was yesterday. That's my ultimate goal. And I also know that tomorrow can be totally different, because, tomorrow's not even promised. So
I want to show you something. One of my coaches put this together for me. I thought it was really fun. All right, so let's give this dude a sidewalk here. All right, so check this out. This is essentially what our life is like. Here's the dude, stickman dude. He lives in 2D world. He's hanging out. He's got his house, his lawn. He's doing pretty good. He's saying hey there, right? So this is kind of what it's like when we start hearing like the truth versus what I can see and believe. Stickman guy, he sees his truth. He knows what is real. He's in his world, and his world is his reality. What do I do when I try to explain this to him? Like, I'm trying to explain a 3D object, something that it's a sphere, and it's like this. Well, if I were to explain this to him, he's going to say, all right, so you're saying that it's this right here, right? You're just saying that it's that, right? It's like, well, it is that.
I do.
But it's also got multiple dimensions on all sides to this. And he's like, no, that's just a shape like this. He's like,
right.
No,
Can't see the depth.
There's more to this. And so it's that same way that I don't believe that we can accept the truth, even if it were true. And this is where, if I had a theory on this, this isn't fact, or not being a theologian on this one, I'm just saying, if I were to guess, if Christ did come down and tell everybody the truth, and he's like, guys, listen, it's in 4D or it's in 5D, and you guys can't really grasp how far this really goes. And they're like, that, I can't even understand what you're saying. He's like, I'm going to have to leave this here now. And at some point you will evolve over the next couple thousand years to get it.
Right.
And that's it seems like we're in that phase where he came down to be like, it's in 3D. But we're living like the stick man still. And so it's like some people are starting to grasp the idea that it's bigger than what we understand. And like, it comes down to acceptance. It comes down to peace. And how far are we going the other way before I go, hey, man, you're just a guy like me who's trying to make it in this world, man. And what's your motivation or your true intention? And you're like, my intention is just try to help people have a better life. It's like, isn't that better than people who would try and do harm with the word of God?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Jesus is like, it's 3D, but if you're trying to force people into your version of 2D and calling it the same thing, it's going to be like, I think it's Matthew 7 verse. This is one that this should fuck people up. This is Jesus talking. Now, of course, this is an LT, but I mean, there's other versions of this that are said the same way. But if you get into Matthew 7:21, where it gets into the true disciples talk. This is like, not everyone who calls out to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of my Father in heaven will enter. On judgment day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, we prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and performed many miracles in your name. But I will reply, I never knew you. Get away from me, you who break God's laws. And this is the people who want to go, let's take some girl who's going through a living hell, and she's, it has a conscience, and she's going to have an abortion. Let's just go with something that's been like heavily fought against, right? This poor girl's going through her own fucking nightmare. And whether or not, like, it's true, like, it's the death of a child, for sure. But that burden to bear is hers alone, and her judgment shall be hers. And if you're the one who's out there saying slut, tramp, whore, and trying to tell her she's going to hell, and you go up to heaven and say, look, God, I did all of these things. I called that little girl who was going through a traumatic experience a slut, a whore, and told her she's going to hell. Look what I have prophesied in your name. Look at all the deeds I have done in your name. And God will say, you're not one of mine. You're not one of mine. It even said, don't judge people. Even in the same chapter, don't judge people. And this is Jesus talking. This is Sermon on the Mount. This isn't like, some psalm from David. This is like, no, that's Jesus talking. That's Jesus. And so if you get into the real big guns, he's like, pay attention, you guys. Doing shitty things and then saying it's in the name of God is not in the name of God.
Right. No, that's just an excuse, really.
Well, God's not going to like being the excuse for you to do terrible things, and being justified, which is to alleviate yourself of sin that you would never love done to you, turns into the definition of hypocrisy, which is why people turn from religion, because people use it as a weapon, not as a way to connect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can agree to that too. Like, even, I mean, again, I acknowledge I live in a Christian world, so I don't deny anything. I'm not anti-Christian by any means. I just personal choice.
For sure.
But I still think that should every word of the Bible be correct and all of it is the way, that should I be before God, I think he's going to understand that I was still carrying his message. You know what I mean? I'm still doing.
I got no judgment on you. I have no idea.
You know what I mean? Like I
idea.
think that, and that's not even necessarily why I'm doing it, because I believe it's to be the right way, is to help one another, bring each other up. I am by no means a perfect person. I am by no means a saint.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think we were supposed
I
to.
also know that there's a right and a wrong way to go about your life,
I think that I'm going to leave it. This is the last chapter in my first book, Everything is a Choice. So the last chapter really does come down. It's called the Golden Rule. And I think people have forgotten that. And when we talk about writer strikes, and we talk about people who are doing right and wrong, we talk about the wrongs that we have justifications through, canceling people, reality TV, you name it, it's all there. Even being able to say your platform and your vision and your dream has to be stifled because somebody may not understand it. There's a place for you. And there's a place for what your vision and your goal is, because if your intention is true and you really just want to help and make it so some people who feel like outcasts can be a character that they love, well, then fucking let's live some minutes as something you love to be. Let's do that. And so if some people don't get it and they want to shun you or cancel you or hurt you, it kind of goes against the entire golden rule, which is just treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And if you're going to justify yourself as holier than thou that you can do to others that you would hate done to you, it seems like the very definition of somebody who would be turned away. And this is as simple as it gets. I'm not even trying to get super esoteric into the breathing of the galaxy of all the trees and our breath and all the things. I'm not getting into all that. Let's just get into, like, did you treat people at the very minimum, in a way you would have liked to be treated? And if your answer is not really, or yeah, kinda, but, and then you go into any explanation, maybe you should rethink some of the choices that we make and how we treat each other.
I can co-sign that for sure. And yeah, I don't even know how to follow up, so I'll drop the mic for you if that counts.
Please drop it. we can
Well,
we can switch gears.
I don't
I
know,
had
man.
no
This mic,
intention.
this mic might have cost a little bit of money. I don't know.
I have a Yeti, dude. I got one of those. I got one. It's in the other room, man. So I actually did most of my first stuff off of a Yeti Blue. So
It's a good
it's
microphone,
a good
man.
mic. It's solid. Also, I didn't have the cool sticker you got in it, so I'll give you praise there.
It's actually one of these,
Yeah.
and
Is it
I
breast
just thought that
cancer
it fit.
awareness or what?
Well, it's a brand, but and I researched it before I bought it. Proceeds went to, so yes.
Right on. Yeah,
Proceeds
listen.
went to breast cancer awareness. Keep
Yeah.
a Breast Foundation.
Yeah, I had my stepmom went through breast cancer. There's a lot of people in my life who I know have gone through it. My buddy Oren, his wife went through breast cancer. There's a lot of people that it's affecting. I wish they would put a little bit more actual work into it, not just awareness. I have a hard time with that, especially nonprofit companies. That's my own personal gripe. Like I don't actually donate to the companies anymore. I give my donations directly to people.
Okay.
Like especially like if you take any type of these companies that like do things for children, like we'll go and give the toys to the children, or we'll go and actually give like our food to the people at the homeless shelter that's down the street here, and we'll go and like we've gone in with boxes of stuff and gone, hey, this is for you guys directly. We're not going to go through Kroger or something to do it.
Right.
And so this is just my gripe because I've seen a few nonprofits that while their pages may be open, it doesn't mean that it's good. Even I'll call out Susan B. Komen, who is supposed to be like breast cancer awareness. Well, she has to show what her paycheck is openly, and she pays herself almost $800,000 a year. Well, that's pretty generous in donation money.
That is pretty generous, man.
You know, you take there's a couple people. Listen, I don't care if they hate me. I don't care if they don't. There's the guy who has that clean water nonprofit. It's supposed to be clean water for people in Africa. Yet you see this guy tell his story about how he likes to price gouge people and then be able to drive his Lamborghini and his silk suits and his big conventions that are all for him. And I'm like, what happened to getting like even a fraction of this would take an entire country and give them water? What are you doing?
That's insane, dude. I've worked for 2 nonprofits, and they were both corrupt from the ground up.
It's interesting that people would take something that's supposed to be really good, and don't even get me started with like some of the stuff that's happened in the last handful of years, especially in the race world. You're like, this is wrong. There's some stuff that is just wrong, where it doesn't actually benefit any of the people that the nonprofit is supposed to.
It's insane. It's wild, dude. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yep.
I got no rabbit hole I need to go down. I'm just saying there's certain people that I would say, you know, and this is from the bottom of my heart. And as a psychologist and as a person who creates tools and a person who helps people, for the people who take advantage of people who are suffering and they put all the money in your own pocket, you know, kindly and with all due respect, fuck you.
Yeah, man, I understand life beyond, and I understand you need food on your table. I get that. But it's nonprofit, meaning you should be able to support yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like this is where, like, and I'm not saying don't take like, you know, like at some point what is fair for this. They create an entire movement, fair enough, you know. And even if it was something like she gives herself 150K, puts herself in top 5% of the world. I'm like, fair enough, no problemo. Like, I'd be like, okay, you made a huge movement, and if a lot of this money is really helping women with breast cancer, fuck yeah, like let's go,
man,
let's do it. But at some point, when I pay myself $1 million in donation money every year, you're like, you need $1 million? No.
Right, $1 million.
This is where greed versus need becomes a little bit subjective, and I'm open for the debates.
Greed versus need. I'll probably side with need.
You'd think so,
every
right?
time.
Again, golden rule. If it was you who was suffering, would you want the person who was creating the movement to make themselves a millionaire off of the suffering of you or your family member? I don't know.
No.
Interesting debate.
Well, I've been the sufferer, so I can speak from experience that it's not a fun life, and not only is it not a fun life, but we're often stigmatized on top of it. And as I said a second ago, gaslit, you know, like, yeah, gaslighting. I guess, isn't it when you gaslight, isn't it the light comes from the very bottom, like, right? So I guess that kind of makes sense that it comes from the bottom to the top. So, yeah. bottom up.
What's the association? I'm actually more curious on how like the gaslighting terminology refers to how people would treat you.
One more time.
Like, all right, so gaslighting, the fire is lit from the bottom and then it goes to the top, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, so
Well, I was trying to remember like a gaslight because like I'm thinking of the Gaslight District, and I was like thinking of how they look. The gas and the way that the wick is, it's like at the bottom, and I'm trying to recreate it in my head is where I was coming from a second ago. But now I got to look it up. Hold on.
No worries. I always love fire, even my fireside warriors, heart warriors. Fire breaks the rules, man. Fire breaks gravity, goes up.
Fire is awesome.
Yeah, fire burns up, and on one hand, fire can unify and build and protect and create and keep us, safe and disinfect food. It's awesome. It can be the thing that we congregate around to stay warm and connect with each other. Fire is pretty great. Fire can also burn your whole house down and destroy the village. And this is why those are my heart side warriors, because emotions do the same.
It's got a strong dichotomy of power. Fire does. A lot of the elements do, really.
They all do.
They all do. They all have that ability to love and hate in a way.
It's tools. I'm watching this thing right now on the AI on Netflix. I'm watching Unknown, robots or something. I just started it today. I'm halfway through it, and they have that dual purpose thing, like no different than the human mind is dual. It's got dual purpose where it can build and do amazing and kind things, or it can destroy, and manipulate and hurt people. Like it's the same thing. Is a hammer? Is it a tool or a weapon?
Tool, right?
Depends.
It can be a weapon.
Depends on how you use it, right? What about an axe? Is an axe a tool or is it a weapon?
I guess it depends on how you use it.
A knife. Is a knife a tool or a weapon?
Depends on how you use it.
What about this?
Hold on, I gotta minimize it.
You see this beautiful thing right here? Is this a tool or a weapon?
It's a hand. No, it depends. That depends on how you use it as well.
It can be either or, right? It can be used to play piano do amazing things. I can smashy. Like it can do either or.
To go to my smart ass response, it's a hand. It is all the things you just asked. It is the hand that decides, So, yeah.
It's either or. It depends on how you use it, right? What about this thing? Is this a tool or is this a weapon?
Depends on how you use it. That's like the pen is mightier than the sword in a way,
Mm-hmm. Depends on how you use stuff. And so we have a lot of these things around us. Even this conversation, let's be real, this conversation is going to piss some people off. That's fine.
I hope it does.
That's okay. Well, it just reveals the stuff that people have to work through. You want to hear a funny thing while you're looking up gaslighting? Want to hear a funny thing?
Yeah.
I don't get offended very easily, but there is one thing that I can't shake being offended from.
What's that?
Offended people.
Offended people offend you.
Yeah. Do you know why?
I heard that right. Why is that?
Offended people try to dictate how everyone else is allowed to live because they can't accept the reality of their own stuff they haven't dealt with.
Okay.
This means you can't say certain words or you shouldn't do certain things because I can't deal with it.
Right. Yeah, we have to cater to their needs.
Because they won't deal with their own stuff that they have to work through. So we need to change who we are and how we live our lives to pander to somebody who won't do their own self-work. It's the only thing that actually offends me.
I saw this this TikTok. I don't know the dude's last name. His name's Austin, but he's like a really popular kind of social culture TikToker. He does music and stuff too. But he really drilled into this girl who was offended by drag queens being at her college.
I had a guy named Austin who was messaging me. Let me look it up.
And he drilled into her, and it was kind of funny.
Let's see. There's an Austin. I had Austin Lanier. Is that the guy? He does music and does all kinds of stuff. I don't know if it's the same dude. He does a lot of school stuff. He seems like a very positive guy, so I don't know if it's the same dude at all.
No, I don't believe that's him. If all I just got the guy.
We're just grabbing Austins at this point. Is it Austin, Texas? Who is it?
Give me an Austin. I'll take Sean Austin at this point.
Okay. 90210.
So yeah, a couple of so not all gaslights are like this, but the one that I remembered did look like that. And it was where the flame was at the top of the lamp and the gas fed upward. So the
Oh,
gas fed up into the flame to keep the flame going.
so the flame was at the
So
top?
yeah, it was like the way that the lantern was shaped, it was like the wick was kind of pointing down. And I don't know. I don't understand the mechanics behind it exactly. Not all gaslights are like that, but that was the one that I remember seeing anyway. And it still holds to the metaphor that from the bottom up. So damn it, I'll stick to
Interesting.
it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, help me out with the gray in my beard here.
Okay.
All right. So the term gaslighting, from what I understand, is when somebody says like, "Hey, this is my truth," and somebody tries to tell them that what they've seen and what they've experienced never happened. They try to make it so it's something different. Is that what it means, or is there some different definition? I think we have to refer to like urban.
I feel like
Dictionary for this.
that is more of the blanket term that you're talking about. Gaslighting, which is what everybody has a problem with, is when you are it's like it is what you're saying, but there's more stake to it in a way. Like it's when you're almost led to believe that you're crazy. Like for example, I had a toxic relationship where she began using crack cocaine even though we were both in recovery, and I worked a really good job at a factory, and had she not been involved in my life, I would have been doing very well for myself. And she started to, let's just say, Amber Heard me, and until I would give her money. And I would give in a lot because I don't like having my face bashed in, and I don't want to like hit her because even if I laid a scratch on her, she would have ran a train through me, legally. So I just had to take it until I couldn't. And then I was like, fuck it, take the money. And it happened a lot. Well, it got to a point where she started telling me that, like, because I was talking about money problems, and I'd be like, yeah, and you would take so much money from me. And then she would say things like, well, you gave me the money. And I was like, no, I didn't. Like, I did, but like, yeah, but you gave me the money, so you can't put that on me. Yeah, but you forced it out of me. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
come on. Yeah, but I didn't, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, come on, dude. And she almost says it in a way that makes me feel like I'm the crazy one, because at the end of the day, I did give her the money. I did give in. I did keep her in my life. I did. And then by the end of it, I'm left questioning myself like, fuck, was it my fault? A master gaslighter will leave you thinking like it's your fault.
well, let's look at it objectively. Let's take all the opinions and all the feelings and all the stuff out of it. Who made the money and had control of the money?
I did.
How did she get it?
I gave it to her.
All right, so wasn't she right?
No, she is right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's what I mean.
Oh, okay, I was like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
sounds
But
right.
but
Well,
one of the biggest problems in our I would just say not even our society, and in society, us as humans and social creatures, are implications
mhm.
between the lines. I think that I saw this really cool video, and this is the third time I'm talking about it now, and I really need to find it
That's fine.
because
Let's play it, man. Let's
no,
shout
I can't
out one.
find it.
Shout this
The
person
first
out.
the first time that I recalled it, I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it, and it really fucked me up. So this is the third time I'm mentioning it, and I don't know where the video's at. But the guy was talking about subliminal messaging, and he was talking about the vinyl. Um, when people would play the vinyls backwards, and it would say things,
Sure.
Led Zeppelin, Pink
Yeah.
Floyd, what have you,
Great.
Black Sabbath, whatever. And he was saying that there's a good chance that they didn't intentionally do it. Not only is that very fucking difficult, but people do it all the time, even in regular conversation. I don't know if you edit this, maybe at some point, play the audio backwards, see if you hear anything, because sometimes we say what we really mean in between lines.
Shut up.
And
Is that a thing that people have been able to do? That'd be amazing.
I need to research this a little bit more, but
I'm happy
the
to
video
do it.
that
That'd be amazing.
the video that I watched and the evidence that I was given in that video. Again, this speaks to the thing we were talking about earlier. I was changed. I believed it. I bought in,
Yeah.
but you might find evidence that points the other way and disputes that.
Wouldn't that be fucking cool? Like if there was like, that was like a real thing that you could do. So like you could hear somebody's true intention behind it. So if I was like,
Yeah.
really, that's really interesting. Can you please tell me what you mean by that? And then you play it backwards. I'm like, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Or
well,
if it was
because
like, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? And you play it backwards. Like, I'm really concerned about you and I want to hear what happened to you. Like,
yeah,
that'd be neat. If you
it
could
has
hear
to be
intention.
interpreted because it's not like clear, but when, yeah, like some of it is more clear than others. Like when you listen to the Led Zeppelin song and you play it backwards,
those ones
there are
people put some shit there. Those are the vinyls are different because I've heard that shit.
Yes.
It's going to be like, you need to worship the devil. Like it's
right.
It's a little bit more clear.
But even some areas are more clear than others. Still, is what I mean. And maybe what happened for those instances is they discovered this phenomena this man's talking about, and they found a way to like make it louder. You know what I mean?
Sure. You ever seen the movie? It's an old Rowdy Piper movie called They Live.
No, but I know what you're talking about because
where
I
he
saw
puts the sunglasses on and then he can see what the real things are. I can see like the aliens, and you can see like the Coca-Cola sign when you put the glasses on just says obey.
Yeah. And I saw that in a like a recap video about the 80s or some shit. But yeah,
I watched the whole movie. I used to watch the shit. I mean, look at this is not fake gray, dude. This is real.
Hey, I'm getting there. It's coming back here.
And so, like, I used to love that. I was a big wrestling fan, so Roddy Piper had a movie, and my dad loved that thing. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, we're watching this, which was ridiculously long fight scenes. They were very funny, but like, I'm like, all right, cool. So, but there was the whole thing there is that there's these subliminal messages all over the place, and you're not wrong. They are for sure all over the place. And I'm not going to go into all of like the things that are very obviously out there. People can research the shit. But you're not wrong with some of the messages that are there. But I'm curious in what you mean with the gaslighting version of our conversation.
So I just haven't really had time. But this is the third time I'm mentioning it, so I really do need to like
it's about
research.
To become your expertise, bro.
Because for real. Because the guy that it was a video, and then there was a guy talking, and he was talking about other people, and they were like bringing in the moon landing and playing it backwards to see if they heard anything funky. I don't know that it happens every conversation, every sentence, but I think on particular lies that are like, I am fucking lying through my teeth.
Right.
That there's meaning behind that, lying through my teeth, meaning subliminally, I'm telling you the fucking truth, But you don't even have to play it backwards. You can pay attention to body language because implications are still there. So to loop back around, implications are sort of like that subliminal, messaging, but they're different. It's when you and I we might work at the same place and we might have similar jobs, but you might be like one step up. And like, you might give me the implication that there's a job opening, and you might give me the implication, and you might give me the implication, and you might give me the implication. And so my job performance will get better, but no job comes and I get pissed and I come to you and you're like, I never said anything, dude. And it's like, yeah, but you fucking implied. And they're like, but I didn't say anything, even though you both know that he was implying. That's a true gaslight situation right there, because he did mean it. He did imply it. He couldn't say it specifically because then there'd be legal repercussions. If you can't fucking say it because of legal repercussions, then you don't mean it.
Well, also, what kind of rules make it so if I tell you the truth, there's a legal repercussion?
Well, like if I promise you a job and the job doesn't come through.
Promising and then saying there is a job, those are not the same.
Well,
of course.
I'm generalizing, I'll admit, but
I just want to make sure, like, I don't want to misinterpret you. So I'm like,
yes, sir.
What do we mean by that?
And that does happen a lot. So thank you for clarifying. Yes. I do.
So I just want to make sure, like I don't want to misinterpret this, because I've heard different definitions for gaslighting. So I like to hear different points of view. For sure.
Yeah, I think that there's a layered definition for sure. Like there's the blanket term that just like you had originally said, And then there's like the deeper meanings where,
Well,
you know,
that gets tricky because, like, I'm with you. Is there sciences behind what we could do, and like even reading micro expressions. I'm pretty decent at reading people through micro expressions because I grew up in trauma, and so I got really good at recognizing when there was a change in any type of feature at all. Because
yeah,
in the house I grew up with, one small twitch meant you're about to get hit with something, and so.
right,
Like I got very quick at being able to catch that with humans. You can sense danger very quickly with someone just like, oh,
I agree.
like
Yeah,
they're cool, and then they're like, you're
right.
like,
It's
oh
like, hey,
shit,
why the sudden shift,
oh
man?
shit, I see you. Okay, like you can catch somebody's vibe, or even somebody going, and you're like, okay, I
Yeah,
got you. That was loud as hell to me. That was so loud.
yeah,
And so these things are there. So is there a science behind micro expressions versus an assumptive implication? There can be. Is it absolute? No. Because even
no,
watching the movie Lie to Me or the show Lie to Me, which shout out to Tim Roth because that version of it, man, they need to bring Dr. Lightman back. That show they only did 3 seasons, but and it didn't get the traction until it was on like Netflix. But like that show was fantastic,
was it?
man. You
Okay,
gotta
I like
catch
Tim Roth.
Tim
So.
Roth is great, and so like that show was probably one of my favorite characters, and he played a guy who was like master at reading micro expressions.
Huh.
And that was like the FBI would hire him all the time to get the truth from people who won't say it,
Right.
but they can see
Right,
like,
right.
I see what you're doing. That was pretty obvious lie to me, but other people couldn't see it.
Right.
So there is something there when it comes to an implication. So I'm with you. Is it an absolute science? There's theories and ideas to it, but it's hard
Right.
to keep consistency because, even if you run into a psychopath behavior, it's all going to be reversed anyways. And so it's going to be. Really
I agree. I agree. I think that like when I initially brought it up was like, you know, that I was saying that is a big problem with not even our society, just society in general's implications because there kind of can't be a science behind it because it kind of lives in the gray area. Like maybe you could study it long enough and get some science behind it, but it lives in a gray area, so it's going to be very difficult to do so. I'll say that much. Um and in the corporate America jobs that I had, I was saying if there were more, better incentives, there were so few incentives and so many implications. And that was like that ratio is a huge fucking problem. So
Do you mind if I share how I train on that?
train on what?
Like that scenario.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in the Warrior's Way, instead of having an external version of like, these people are implying this, or they're doing this, or they're not giving incentives, or they're not treating me right, or they're doing this thing wrong, or they're gaslighting me in this way, all of that is canceled out if you have boundaries and standards. Like if you understand where I stand on things, I know myself. And this is why we take even the first 5 weeks of my program is just know yourself. It sounds simple, but most of us really are operating under belief systems that were given to us by people who are not trained. So parents, teachers, friends, family, like we grew up and we're in like these belief systems are put into us based on what we've been exposed to. And so what are your true ability to know yourself? We have to renovate most people's entire system. You're like, that's really inauthentic to your true beliefs, but that's what your dad told you and that's how you do it. It's those kind of things. And so when you start getting into like, well, what are your standards for yourself? And like, where are your values and where are your non-negotiables and where are your lines that you do not bend for people? When someone says you should sacrifice your integrity because we're going to give you $3, you can be like, well, my integrity is worth more than $3, so shove it up your ass. And you're going to be like, that's not the way. I will not bend my integrity for $3. Thank you for the offer. I'm going to have to pass. In which case, this also turns into healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not demands. Don't imply this to me. Don't tell me what to do. Don't try and treat me this way. Those are demands. A healthy boundary is if you treat me this way, I'm not going to stick around here. If you talk to me like that, I'm not going to play ball with you anymore. I'm going to have to end this dynamic. If you're going to try and threaten me, I'm not going to give you what you're asking for. I'm going to take you out of my life because you're a toxic version of somebody in my life. It's my line. And so if you know where you stand for your boundaries and where you stand for your standards and knowing thyself, I don't have to have any reaction over somebody who breaks the rules that I don't want to live my life by. I simply just have to say, thank you for being who you are and revealing yourself to me. But I don't have to stay here for it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to train it. I found myself in many positions where, I turned around and was like, well, I just let that happen,
There he is.
just let that happen and open the door for that.
That's probably I'd probably spend more time with you on that because I think that there's. Have you ever done any Enneagram work or anything to see like what your personality type are? Have you ever done anything like that?
Not really, no.
If I got you bagged, you do have some what would be a type 9 behavior, which is the peacemaker. This is the kind of person who I do not like people fucking with me. Don't give me conflict. I don't want to argue about this. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people want to get really, really shitty, you're like, whatever, dude, whatever, fine, whatever you want. Just please stop screaming. Like, fine.
To an extent. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't mean that the peacekeeper isn't body side because, the wings on a type 9 is a type 8 who will fuck you up and a type 1 whose wrath is their main thing. So don't mean that you're just a helpless kitten. It just means like, I'm going to do everything I can to mitigate damage here until I'm in the corner and then I'm going to bite you.
Seem fair? That's fair.
Okay, so this makes it so people will push as far as they can because you don't have a healthy boundary to know where you stand on things because they'll keep taking and taking and taking until you most likely are in a dynamic, especially with that ex or even this boss, it sounds the same, where they're going to keep taking until you say enough. And then they'll shame you for saying that's all you got. Why were you ever worth my time in the first place?
Yeah, that's a perfect I was going to say assumption, but it's not even an assumption at this point. But
observation at this point. I'm just kind of putting the pieces together. You can tell me it's incorrect. This is just as far as I've seen so far. So with you, I would be raising your confidence tenfold in your authenticity of who you truly are. Because when you know yourself, you don't have to have any of these compromising conversations. You can simply decline shitty offers, and that's okay. No different than any of the doubt conversations where someone says, Verum, no one's going to listen to you. And that's a stupid idea. And you're going to create a community. Who the fuck would want to be in your community? Like, these are just doubt attacks. Well, doubt's not offering you anything because if I said that's a stupid idea, Verum, what offer am I giving you? Am I giving you an alternative plan? Am I giving you a different improvement? Am I telling you some better idea? No, I just said yours
sharing your opinion, really.
But I just said yours won't work, which means the offer I'm giving you is actually nothing. If you follow what I say, you'll be doing nothing.
Oh, right, yeah.
There is no offer. That's just, if I said that's a stupid idea, that just means I'm saying your dream or your potential or your thing that you would do that would bring joy or happiness or community or belonging or connection and make it so people have a place where they don't feel so damn isolated anymore, especially in their nerdiness or their fantasy or their dreams. And they can go, we can all collaborate here, and you're not a fucking freak because you want to play an elfin ranger. Like, let's have a good time. And you have a community of people who love to be able to just play, just be a kid again, just play. Or I can say that's a stupid idea, and you can forfeit all of it for nothing. Well, which one do you want to do?
The prior,
The one that has potential? Or do you want to guarantee absolute nothing?
The one that has potential. Yeah, absolutely.
This is how doubt works, is they offer nothing to try to take from you everything. And if you have a higher awareness, I would be training your confidence to be as strong as you fucking could be to recognize attacks like this so you know how to defend against it. When you understand what it is, it's very beatable. This is the warrior's way. And so if somebody says,
love it.
Verum, that's stupid. You're dumb. Nobody's going to listen to your shit. Your beard's too long, which it's not. It's beautiful, by the way. So if people are going to give you nonsense, you go like, well, I hear what you're saying. What is your offer? Well, I'm just saying it's a dumb idea. Cool. So the offer seems to be nothing. Well, I guess. Well, thank you for your offer, but I decline. I'm going to go with potential.
Yeah. No, that sounds accurate. Like, and I can even say that your your solution is accurate because the job I was speaking of is a prior job. I've gotten back into sales, and I'm which is where I kind of flow naturally. And you know, that confidence of leaving that shit behind when I kind of felt like I needed to stay. I was the one saying that I needed to stay, but I felt that way. I left it and pursued something. I honestly I honestly kind of like turned this switch on and just started following my intuition, and it led me to a place of confidence. So,
Good.
the more confident that I've been, the happier I've been. So
This is something. Let's give people some tools here. This is a fun one. I've broken confidence down into 3 parts to make it so it's practicable. I do not like having ideas that people can't do anything with. This is why my stuff has been successful. Why don't we just leave you with the pieces for confidence to practice?
for sure.
Yeah. All right. If you've got a pen and paper, this is the time to get it. If you're listening, this is the time to get this actual training stuff.
I'm gonna get my pen and paper. What do you mean? Shit.
My dude. All right. So this is the 3 different parts that comes down to confidence. And these are the parts that I've put into practicable units. First piece, there's 3 C's to it. The first C is courage. Courage is a part of confidence. This means I have to do something that I think the definition is doing something that may hurt, or knowing something may hurt and doing it anyways. Now, the tricky part is that's also the definition for stupidity. And that's what makes that a little hard. It's because I could ask somebody out and they could say no, and that could hurt, but I'm going to ask her out anyways.
You're facing stupidity and saying, I'm doing it anyway.
Well, it's tough because you've also seen there's a very slight difference between hold my beer and hold my Red Bull. There's a very slight difference there. So as far as this is a little bit different. So, but the reality is when it comes to most things that take courage, you have to do something that scares the shit out of you. And it takes courage to do that. You know, ask somebody out, stand up and raise your hand in a conference room and say an idea, give a speech in front of people, like take on a new position or a new job or do some new skill that scares the shit out of you because you're not good at it yet, right? There's step out of your comfort zone. There's a degree of confidence that you're going to have that courage brings. And if you've ever faced fear before, because fear hates courage, after you faced a fear and you're like, I did it, have you ever felt fucking wonderful?
I have. I know that.
Feels good whenever you follow your courage over you buckle to fear. So takes courage first.
Sure.
Second one, competency. Competency just means practice. Anything that you practice, you become more competent at. That's what that means. And so driving may have been really scary your first day, but now you can drive and, watch a YouTube video and eat a taco at the same time. It's second nature. We can still watch and navigate all of the things, but I don't have to be like white knuckle 10 and 2 and glancing like a what is those groundhog things or what are those what are the things in Africa? You know what I'm talking about, the ground thing that
the meerkat?
Meerkats, yes. Like you're driving like a meerkat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freaking out. You don't have to do that. You can do that almost second nature. Drive with your knee. It's amazing, right? But this used to
I do drive with my knee.
This used to be a terrifying experience, though, at one point.
It was long ago. I've always been probably a little too courageous with my driving, but
but there's a degree of competency that you're actually good at this now, and I can do this. Even your first day on the job, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, but after 3 years or 10 years of doing it, you can do it in your sleep. It's just practice. This goes for everything. I don't care if it's learn to play an instrument or shoot a basketball. It doesn't matter. The more you do it, the better you get. Competency raises your confidence. And this is just, I know I'm good at this. I've practiced a lot. The last one is certainty. And this gets into a math equation. I'm going to give you a math equation, Verum. Let's see how good you are at math.
Okay.
Out of all of the things you've ever been through in your whole life, what is the percentage that your survival rate is right now?
100.
You have 100. Good math. You're fast, dude. That was fast. You have a 100% survival rate so far. You ain't never died. You're still here.
Well, I know a lot of people that have overdosed, but never mind.
They're still here. They're still here.
They are still here.
That means they survived that. They made it. They beat it. Whatever that was, they're still here, which still means you can't count that as you failed because you made it. You still beat that. You survived
Absolutely.
it. Even if it's touching death, you survived touching death and came back.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's still a survival. We made it. You did it. In which case, you're still talking to me, which means you're still here. This means out of all of the fucking insanity of your life and the craziest, darkest moments that you've had to face and you came back and you beat, what do you think the certainty is that asking this person out or starting a business or, raising your hand to give an opinion is going to be the thing that takes you out?
Right. No, that's actually a thought that keeps me going sometimes it actually comes when I have like anxiety issues or panic issues where I'm just like, oh, I don't feel right, man. I don't feel right. And it's usually like a panic attack coming on. I'm like, dude, how much shit have you're just gonna fucking keel over because of XYZ,
you go into the future a lot, don't you?
Go into the future?
Yeah, that's what fear does, is it gives you all the possibilities that paralyze you, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
Let's use these tools right now. We've got the 3 parts for confidence, and we're going to transfer it into your anxiety so you can have at least some weapons against anxiety, okay?
Cool.
All right, so we've got these 3 parts. You've got courage, you've got competency, and you've got certainty. I'm going to probably make it through this. This isn't going to be the thing that takes me out. In which case, take a little bit of risk, because this isn't going to be the most dangerous thing you've ever done. I'm going to make it through this. Now let's go into the possibilities that could go wrong. Fear is not real. This is just a possibility that most likely never happens, and so we go into a panic or an anxiety over something that usually isn't ever happening. It's not real.
Right.
And so the answer, and this is how you can test if you have actual anxiety issues. If you think back at a moment, maybe years ago, or just a thing where it's like, it doesn't have to be your scariest moment of your life, but something that used to give me like, I got a big speech coming up and I'm fucking freaking out about it, or I got to talk in front of 100 people, or this is the first time I'm in group and I don't know what to say, like whatever it may be. Think of that moment, that exact moment, and thinking of that moment, does it give you anxiety?
I'm sorry. Honestly, the connection started breaking up. You said, think of that moment and what?
Does it give you anxiety just thinking about that day or that moment when you had to like talk to a group for the first time, or you had to? Do you have anxiety right now thinking about like when I'm there? So are you having an anxiety issue right now?
Well, I mean, I'm not thinking into it too deep, but like I can feel the anxiety set in when I think about it. Yeah.
All right.
I can feel it building up in my chest.
So are you worried now about giving that speech, or are you worried about the outcome?
I'm worried for myself in the past is what it is. I'm hard to explain.
I got a question for you right now. Is that anxiety or is that empathy?
Maybe empathy.
Because are you freaking out or are you worried for you?
I'm worried for myself. Yeah.
Now, you know the outcome. How do you do?
I do all right. I survive.
You get through that okay, right?
Yeah.
Do you have the empathy enough to be proud of yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it still feel like anxiety, or are you like, man, that guy fucking did it?
Yeah, it's a little bit more of pride when I think of the whole situation, but I was thinking of I was thinking of the exact moment in time when I felt the anxiety, which when I thought of it, I felt that feeling. I can relate that to empathy. And the reason why it was worry was just because I also knew what was coming after, and I did struggle and I did go through a moment. So I was like, damn, thinking of the whole thing.
Let's look at the whole thing then. You know how it ends, and you know that you make it through, and you know what the situation is, and knowing all of the answers to that whole thing, does it still give you anxiety knowing that you go through some tough stuff, but you make it, you get through that, and you're okay? Knowing the answer, does it still give you anxiety?
It's more of a sense of resolve, really.
Correct. And that's what I've noticed for almost everybody. And if you stay and look at the whole thing, knowing the answer makes it so you don't have an anxiety attack thinking about something that you know how it plays out. Like, yes. I don't think that you had a medical issue, that you were born with this. This is something that we've attributed over time that's created this belief system on it, because otherwise I'd be talking you out of an anxiety attack right now.
Right.
Well, we're
Yeah.
not. You're not having an anxiety attack right now. Like, so,
No.
so I don't think that you have a chemical issue that your brain can't process situations. Like, it seems like you can. Let's go back into the future now. If you're having all of these possibilities that could happen, all this thing, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, this could go wrong. If all of these things are going through your head, I have a challenge to modern medicine. They say the symptoms that you have means that there's something wrong with you. You need medication to make your brain right because something is wrong. I challenge it. I think you're fucking brilliant. That's something that a brilliant mind would do, would be creating all of these possibility of futures, and not even just creating all of these potential futures. You also have your emotions attached to the possibilities. Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No other creature can create all of these possible imaginary outcomes and have an emotional attachment to all of them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming with that. Go ahead. I don't want to.
So let's start. I'm challenging a belief system. I'm challenging that you're broken, and I'm saying that you're brilliant. It's not that you're fucked up. You have a superpower that is not being trained. It's being suppressed. Because when I train with people who have a hyper imagination and creativity system, they have a heightened ability here that not everybody can do. Some people are very gifted in this area, which is why you're probably so able to get as anxious as you can, because you can go into the future. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You can go into the potential future. If you watch any superhero movie, you either train this ability or it controls you. And right now it controls you. What do you think the other version of go into the future could be if you had control of this ability?
Manifestation.
Could be. Or you could be learning lessons through potential outcomes and then cancel that thing out. I can go in like, well, what if they say this? Well, then I would be prepared to say this. Well, what if they're looking for this? Well, then I could do this thing, and that would be as far as I can go. Cancel that one. All right. What if they tell you you're a piece of shit? Well, I know I'm not a piece of shit, so I would just simply decline. So cancel that. Yeah. What if they try and tell you this thing? I'll be like, well, they can do that. Let's see how that plays out. So I'm more curious than anything else.
I do that all the time.
So you're learning lessons. Well, this is because if you train this, you have an amazing ability. Now, let's look at your proficiency level, okay? You'd like this. This is a D&D chart. Let's see if you've got proficiencies. Let's see if you have them. So I got 6 proficiencies, and let's see if you have even 2 to 3 of these. You're able to handle most things. Okay. Number 1, do you have problem-solving skills?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a problem, we can probably figure out how to solve it. What about creativity? You ever gotten outside of the box to solve a problem before?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we got creativity and problem solving. What about resourcefulness? Like, I don't have it yet, but I can figure out a way to get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually.
What about any support system? Somebody you can call for advice or get a different perspective, or even like, hey, what do you guys think about this thing? Can I look at it from a different point of view? Any support system at all?
I would say limited, but yeah.
Any, even if it's just like 3 people.
Yeah.
Okay. You got a support system. All right. Here's a variable one. Do you have any faith that you're not the center of the universe, that there's more to you than just meism? Like,
now I do. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So now you have a belief that it's not all on you. You have a higher energy or the universe or manifestation or something that you know that you'll figure out a way through this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with the last one. This one's a variable. Are you more experienced and more proficient to handle issues now than you were when you went through harder things?
I'd say yeah.
Okay, so you're 6 out of 6, dude. Shouldn't you be a little bit more excited about what's going to happen versus scared? Because you can handle any of these situations. And if you train this power, you become clairvoyant, not panic-stricken.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
The more I train with people on this and the more work we do, the more we go, wait a second, I'm actually more excited, because if you knew the answer, just like when you looked back at the past, you go, well, now I know what happens. I don't panic. The definition for anxiety is I don't know the answer yet.
I think that's safe to say.
If you practice this as though you're not fucked up and you're brilliant, you start taking control by having presence in the present.
I kind of I kind of want to say that I already acknowledge that.
Good.
I just don't say it out loud a lot because it makes me seem narcissistic, but
That's not narcissistic. That's
yeah,
people
but
use it wrong.
other people tend to, and
Use it.
as we have acknowledged, I do have anxiety a little bit, so I am worried about what other people think. But I think I've acknowledged it, and I've just like followed in line long enough. You know what I mean? And just
This is why we have to know thyself. The more you know you, the less somebody can tell you you're something that you're not.
fair enough.
This is no different than I said, Verum, you're 9 feet tall. That's a fucking amazing, dude. You're 9 feet tall. You're the tallest man in the world. You're 9 feet. And you're like, it's funny, man, but the math doesn't add up on that one. You're so tall. You're the tallest man in the world. And you're like, you're being a little ridiculous. That's not really true. I know that if I got a ruler out right now, it wouldn't end up at 9 feet. I know that.
Right.
Right? Well, it's no different than somebody says you're stupid. And you're like, that's funny that you'd say that, but if I got a ruler out, it's incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
The more you know thyself, the more that your armor can be adaptive towards what kind of attacks people will throw at you. No different than the trolls.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think that I think it's something I always kind of, knew. I think there was a point in time where there was like a lack of direction, and I could point out exactly when that happened. But and just having to find my own way, led me down a longer path than it needed to be,
It led you down the path you needed to have to be a leader.
Fair enough.
And I think this is where I would probably challenge you to triple down on some of these strengths you have, because you have a big ass heart, dude. If you can have that level of empathy for somebody who's going through a hard time, even in the past memories, you're a big hearted guy.
I appreciate that. It's even hard to take compliments, to be honest with you. It's not shit that I hear often. It's not shit I'm comfortable with.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It's because that part of you has been repressed, And this is like that part has been blocked off, and it's a protection system. It's not because you're fucking crazy. It's because you've been hurt in the past by people who manipulate their way in through your boundaries. And they get inside your inner walls and they start doing damage and stealing shit.
Yeah.
Makes sense that even somebody saying something kind about you is going to give you a level of cognitive dissonance where, like, I know that's the right thing, but.
Right. And it just doesn't feel right for some reason,
Know thyself. That's where I would start. The more you know you, the more you go, that fucking seems right, man. Just like some of these things that we've said, you're like, I can agree with that. Well, it's the same thing if I said, I think you're a good fucking guy. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. It's like, am I wrong or are you wrong? The truth now is, again, subjective. Yeah. My point of view and my opinion is true to me.
Right.
But you don't know the whole story. Do I need to know the whole story to have an opinion?
Not really.
Okay. So I'm allowed to have my subjective point of view. Because what is truth, again? Just stuff we agree on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Am I at the point where I'm blowing your fucking mind yet?
I mean, you blew my mind like an hour ago.
Oh, right on. So. I fill people's cup all the time. This is going to be a very fun conversation. This conversation most likely will probably trigger millions of people.
I mean, that would blow my mind.
Yeah, I hope that a lot of people start blowing you up with as much troll shit as possible, because you can call me and we can laugh all day long. Because you'll be the most popular, and you'll have a community of people who now know where they can go and they can hang out with you. And if you need backup and support because you're under attack, come lock shields with me because I got your back.
Oh, yeah, man. Shield wall.
Faye links it up.
Oh, yeah, man.
Keep in touch with me, okay? I'm going to bounce out. My girl just got home a little bit ago, but it's been an honor, man. What a cool conversation. I'm glad we could nerd out. I'm glad we can go into some psych stuff, and I'm glad we could talk about some hard conversations that most people want to avoid.
This is, I mean, shit, this is my daily fucking brain, So
I'm glad we could go to the brain playground.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to get to, intellectually stretch out a time or two, with somebody else that, can hang, for lack of a better term. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. You're a smart dude. If I can toss some compliments back.
What's
You're
that old
smart,
thing
dude.
where,
You know your
where you're
shit.
like, stop it, stop it, stop it,
Right,
stop
right.
it. Like, yeah,
Take some of this shit back,
bring it
like,
down. Stop it, stop it, please.
but no, you know your shit, man. And I need to get better about like looking into my people before I meet up with them, because I really want to like look into your book and shit. Want to look into what you got going
We'll
on.
give you a digital copy. We just made the audio book, so we're working on that. That should be out soon too. I'll just send it to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Just
Man.
keep in touch, man. Let's follow back up, make another date around a month or so or something, because right now I'm booked out for the next like almost 2 months. But
Okay.
I'd love to be able to hang out with you again, Stu, and like let's go in and like now you know who you're dealing with, so you can come here with all kinds of heavy shit and like let's get in.
Okay, I mean you're welcome to come on mine too. At least I have, because I use Zoom. I use Zoom and I don't have the professional account, so I have a time limit where it's 40 minutes. That's it.
No, what we'll do is I'll record for you, and then I'll just send
Okay.
you the full recording.
All right, that works too.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting because it'd be a longer episode.
correct,
So.
correct.
Yeah,
Amundo, so.
yeah. I have a much shorter waiting list, so feel free to come on my show anytime.
Just book it with Randy. She'll make it happen, okay? That's my integrator. She makes it work.
Awesome. Yep.
Verum,
Well,
awesome to meet you, brother. Such an honor. And yeah, I'm going to put this up. Make sure I have all your links and all this stuff. So if anybody wants to be able to reach out or work with you or connect or be part of your community, I want to make sure they have the place to go without any
Likewise.
confusion.
I appreciate it, man. And Brindley Mulligan, hey, DMs are open, buddy. So
yeah, listen, let's put over the super group because I'll make a very conflicted paladin.
Okay, dude, I would love to see that. You would be a great paladin for sure.
That would be a very funny conflicted paladin.
Okay.
My deity would make us get in all kinds of trouble.
Dude, you would make a great paladin. I know it. So I think I would probably have to, because I've played a rogue before, but not in a legitimate D&D game. So I want to be a rogue. So we'll get into it.
Sounds awesome. All right, brother. Have a good one, Verum. I'll talk to you later.
All right, I'll talk to you later, man.
See ya.
Take it easy.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.